Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're joining us. Welcome to the Power Platform Today show. I have with me Ana Welch, and I'm going to bring her on, and she can introduce herself to the adoring public. Please introduce yourself, Anna. Hello.
Hi, Reese, and adoring public of Reese. I hope everyone's okay. My name's Ana Welch. Um, I think you and Iris have been we've known each other for a long time, years now. Um, from the Microsoft community, from the Dynamics Power Platform community, where I think we both kind of navigated towards the same interest,
Mm-hmm.
the place of hybrid Dynamics Power Platform where we're trying to blend in pro code with low code and find the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been a member of that community for a little bit
Yeah.
now.
I think going back, certainly I know you were one of the early community members when it came to D365 Saturday, because I had Janet in the past talking about the
I
first
was
one.
very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very lucky to be one of the first ones there. So I met Janet, Rob, and Chris Huntingford in one go. And
That's a power couple right there.
totally, honestly, in 2018. So it's been a long time. Um, Chris and I have been working together on two jobs now, at Microsoft and now at Cloud Lighthouse too. Um, And it's just unbelievable, right? How you meet some people and all of a sudden, stuff clicks. You feel a bit less alone and weird.
I think that's it. That is a lot of the definition of community, isn't it? It's finding your people, your
Yeah.
tribe, and I think that's. I've talked a lot about community now on this show with lots of different people that have done community
Mm,
in different ways, been involved in different ways, from people that have started user groups to people that have attended user groups and more consume but feedback. People that are technical, so like Jonas, for instance, when he was on, his contribution to the community in many ways is tool creation. And yes, he goes to events, but actually the tools that he's put into the world have been phenomenal for the community. So the community is amazing that it's so many different facets, so many different parts, but really ultimately it's connection, it's sharing, it's knowledge. That's what fascinates me
I
about it.
think I think for me, with regards to Jonas at least, Jonas and Yuka as well.
Mm,
When I started with uh, Dynamics CRM as it was there was no clear manual, right? No
yeah.
training video, no snippet of code, like pretty much nothing. So the two people who were actually untangling the information and making sense of it all were these two. So I'm wondering how many of us actually they helped start a career. And yeah, of course, there's the tools and blogs and the ideas and all of that in the community. But honestly, very pragmatically, it paid my salary.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, they were there at that time. I think I'd be interested to know when. Well, we'll get to that in a second. When you started with the platform. So for me, I started around 2011 with the platform. Community came later, but I was consuming community content from day one. For exactly what you said, it's you at the time. It was I have no idea how to solve this problem. For me, I had the SDK, so that was my Bible, and I
hmm
spent many hours pouring over all the samples there because for me that was a technical grounding that helped. So if there was anything I needed to do in a plugin, anything that I needed to do with the service, I found the example in the SDK, and that let me solve the technical thing. But then there'd always
Mm.
be some weird thing that you had to do, or something that didn't quite work, or how the hell do I do this ribbon thing? And that's when you come across blog posts. That's when you come across the Scott Duros and the Jonases of that sort of time.
Totally.
Leon Tribe was another one. I came across his posts a lot. And tip of the day, that was going strong back then.
I
Still is.
agree. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was about knowledge, and it was about getting that, and yeah, they helped to allow me to do more of the work. And actually, there was one manual. There was the CRM 2011, CRM in the Field, I think it was called. Oh, that was a good book. That was a brilliant book. But that was also back in the day when you could actually put what was in the Power Platform in a single book. I don't think you can even do that
Yeah.
now.
I don't think you can do that now. And also, yeah, what do you think about books? Do you still buy
I have bought
training
I
books?
bought a number of different books, but actually the books I buy are to support people I know. So I haven't bought books to help me understand something. I've actually bought books to support other people. And admittedly, I'm terrible at reading books at the best of times. So for me, I don't consume my knowledge through books. I can't. I'm very hands-on. I have to go
Mm-hmm.
hands-on. The CRM in the Field book was really good at the time, though, was because it was a reference manual. It actually had the
Mm-hmm.
ability to look something up, and you could actually find an example of why you want to do something, not actually sample code. It was talking about this is how this works. This is the product catalog. This is what a product catalog is. And it was short and sharp. I don't know how they compiled the book, but I suspect it was something that came out of a bunch of blog posts. There was a number of MVPs at the time. I have to find it actually. I have it somewhere. But I think it was like four people that did it, and
Try to sell it. Who knows how expensive it is right now?
yes, yes, it's an artifact. uh, but no,
You
I.
talked about hands-on.
Mhm.
How do you see hands-on right now um with people starting out or like trying to do something, and especially with the technology evolving so
Mhm.
rapidly, how do you choose what is hands-on? Like, how do you choose a project?
Oh, I don't get to choose at the moment. Certainly, the stuff I get is stuff I get given to do, but it's the same thing. So if there's something I don't know, for me, it's always I need to get hands on with the technology. So I'm always looking for, is there a trial? Is there some way I can set up an instance that I can go off and play with it? Encodium comes to mind because I had to do Encodium last year,
Sure.
and it was one of the reasons I used encoding was because it gives you a trial. It gives you the ability to actually do stuff, whereas some others don't do that. And that's something I need because then I can go off and I can play with it. I can look at the documentation, but I can put it into context and say, right, well, I need to be able to generate this template, and it needs to get this information from these related relationships and tables. Can I do that? Let me just do a very quick proof of concept. So I'll create a flow on demand that'll generate a Word document and dump it in a one drive location. For me, hands-on is about I will have an idea in mind of what I need to get out of that instance of what I'm doing. So I'll need to validate. I can definitely get the data I need. Okay, that's an experiment I need to go and validate. I might need to test that I can get the scale of data I need. Maybe I need to get more than 500 records. Can I do that? How do I have to go past
Right.
that limit? Is there some thing I have to do? And then it's about understanding the tool itself. So what does a step, what does an action, what does a cost actually entail? And something like that's quite good because you can run it, you can then look at the dashboard and you can see, oh, right, literally every action is one step. So I can now estimate cost for a customer because I know roughly how I'm going to use this. So for me, hands-on is all about solving little problems, little experiments. I always call them experiments. They're foundational experiments for me. So for me, hands-on hasn't changed. It's still, I mean, I've been on this earth for just a little over 40 years now, and this is the same way I learned when I was a kid. I I think I talked about it on here before. My dad had a 286. Like he's been in computers,
Mm-hmm.
before I was, and we had this 286 in the house. So this for you young people out there, that's a really old computer.
I've never seen one.
Oh, you're missing a trick. Oh, it was good old MS-DOS and Norton Commander. Good times.
I've seen those.
So we had the 286, and my dad collected games. He didn't seem to
Mm-hmm.
play them, so I need to actually ask him. I think he collected them for us because I never saw him. I
Probably.
never specifically saw him play games. When I started playing them, he would play because he wanted to beat my scores. We were quite competitive. But this was back in the day when there were no manuals at all, and there was no standard
Mm-hmm.
because the games at the
Mm-hmm.
time they didn't have things like DirectX and Unity, these frameworks for making games. So as a result, if you had some kind of platformer, it wouldn't necessarily mean that it was the direction keys that would move you around. It might be some keys on the keyboard itself. It might be some of them would be Control and Alt for some weird reason. So the only way you could work it out, or at least the way I did and my sister did, we just mashed the keys until something happened.
Hmm.
And that's how I learned. So I, even from very early on, I'm literally hands on. That's the way I learn. I have to try and break it to understand it.
Okay, that's cool. Do you think that's still the case now with kids these days? And the
Oh.
reason I'm asking is because, so, uh, right now, to kind of, I guess, not finish my introduction, but just to give a little bit of background, I'm I'm the CTO of a startup company. You can call it a startup company. It's a new company, right?
Hmm.
It's called Cloud Lighthouse. We do strategy and we do lab work, what we call lab work, and that's experimenting with technology for customers,
Hmm.
and partners and Microsoft and like whoever is trying to solve a problem, um, and they wanna like technology is moving so fast nowadays that you can't really trust that the method that you're planning to put in practice is going to be the best one for you, right?
Hmm.
So starting from that, I was working on this project, and it happened that I was with Donna Sarkar, and we were at the beach. She came to Valencia, where I live,
Nice.
and we went to the beach, and we worked from the beach for like half a day. And out of the clear blue, Donna goes like, "Do you know what makes me really, really happy right now?" And I'm like, "What?" The fact that I'm not young. Can you imagine starting out right now?
Oh.
And you know what? And I feel she's right, because think about it, like exactly like you're saying, because I used to just experiment stuff and break things and read the SDK and create technology, ultimately solve very complex problems, and it felt really good.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but to me, it felt really good. Like
Yep.
the dopamine that gave you, even if you didn't solve the problem, but you saw something move, or you found out that, oh, wait, an action is actually right. This
Hmm.
is how I estimate from now on. Now, do you feel, because we are empowered to still experiment, I feel like I am given a blanket, yeah, you can try things out. But can young people who are just starting out, who are finishing university, can they do that? In your opinion, is it true that I don't know what percentage of junior developers are not going to be needed anymore?
It's a I can't tell what's going to happen in the future. I'm definitely not that way inclined. I know that people like Mark, Yuka, these guys, they spend a lot of time thinking about the future and where it's going to go, and
Mm-hmm.
come up with all sorts of ideas. And they've been in the industry, in this industry, for a long time, see lots of different things. For me,
Totally.
I'm at the I've always been at the keyboard level. I don't tend to do the grander scheme and where we're going. I do the tactical. I need to get this next thing done, and I don't think that's going to
Mm-hmm.
change. I honestly don't think that changes. I think that until you actually have a machine, a robot, doing everything for you, which I just don't think society will let happen. There's always going to be
How?
someone. I just don't
How
think.
will society stop that?
Well, look at automated at driverless cars. we've had the technology for easily over a decade now, but people
Mm-hmm.
won't let it happen because we can't lose that control. So, for instance, someone asked me the other day, like I said, I wish I had a driverless car. Like I do. Like if I didn't have
Oh,
to
me
own,
too.
if I didn't have to
Believe
own it,
me,
I could just literally an Uber sort of thing. I just say I need a car and I need it to take me
totally.
here, and as a taxi it makes perfect
Yes.
sense. But then someone asked
Must
me,
have a car seat for a toddler.
but that so then they asked me, well, how would you feel about having your 6-year-old in the car with you? And it changed it a little bit for me because then I did think, well, yeah, I mean, it would be a horrible thing if something went wrong, but I still want the car. But it did momentarily stop me because it was like, I didn't really think so much about that. Like it just freaks me out a little bit. But I think that's just being a parent as much as anything. And it shouldn't be any different because if I'm driving a car and I have an accident, it's just as bad. But then there's the other part in my brain that's saying, well, I don't know what AI is going to do. Like, I don't know. Like, I know that if a car comes out in front of me from a junction, I'm going to slam on the brakes and I'm going to be like, holy crap. That's terrible. I'm terrified. But I know that's what I would do. An AI, you would think that's what they would do, but maybe they speed up. Maybe they speed up because they're the one causing the accident because they're still learning. Or it's just, those are the sort of, that's the trust thing about AI that people talk
Or
about.
maybe they speed up because they've calculated that if they do speed up, they avoid the thing.
But that's the thing. So they might be doing what they think is correct in that moment, but whether that's the right thing or not, who knows? Ultimately, depends on what happens in the scenario. But I could be in that car and suddenly they're speeding up because they've calculated they can go around them. But I'm going to be terrified by that because, like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you speeding up to get? And it's, I don't know. It's things like that that just mean that if you have a choice, I don't think you choose that unless you are there to be able to stop or to have some control over it, or someone can prove.
Fallback mechanism.
Yeah,
Right.
but at the same time, if you look at planes, planes are statistically the safest way to travel. Absolutely. However, when there is an accident, when a plane does fall out of the sky, that's over 200 people that just die. You don't have a choice there, really. Sometimes people survive. In fact, recently there was that, I think, Air India, where one person survived. That was,
Apparently they didn't.
oh,
I
really?
read a follow-up article that he was just like a guy on the street. They didn't find him on the
No.
manifest or anywhere.
Oh, he just wanted
That's
to be
what I
part of the.
read.
Yeah, I was on
He
that plane.
just said, yeah.
Oh wow, I love that, but that's a different thing. It's the safest way to travel, and yet so many people are still very afraid of flying because it's that fear of, well, what happens
Definitely.
if it's this moment, and that's a very human thing. But that's a long way of saying that. I just think that AI, there's a barrier to entry that is difficult to get to as a person. However, the other side of it, businesses using AI already. So businesses absolutely wanting to use AI because the quicker they can use it, in theory, they think, the quicker they can get rid of the costly thing that is people. I just don't think that's the case because I think that AI is not exactly cheap. I mean, next to a skilled individual, yes, potentially. But I don't know, now I'm just rambling. There's all sorts of trouble to it. I do think that the way I approach things in technology, this idea of to understand something, I need to break it, I need to take it apart, that is millennia old. You can go back to the ancient Greeks, you can go back to the Egyptians. That's what they were talking about. A lot of early science, and all science still, is experiment based. It's basically, I'm going to try lots of different things until I find the answer. I mean, I think it's Thomas Edison that said that when someone asked him, how do you feel about being a failure, when he tried 10,000 different ways to make a light bulb and they didn't succeed? And he said, what are you talking about? I'm really successful. I found 9,999 ways for it not to work. And that approach doesn't change. How we work with technology does. And I think a lot of people seem to think this idea that AI is going to take over everything. The one that makes more sense to me is that you just provide people with more powerful tools like AI is like taking a motorway from a 3 lane to a 20 lane, initially, yeah, you're going to have more cars going on there. You're going to have, it's going to be lovely. But then just more cars are going to end up on there. And so that very, very busy motorway that was never moving suddenly is still not moving with 20 lanes. It's just got more on it. So I think there'll always be something for people to do, and it will change. What do you think? I feel like you're interviewing me. It's brilliant. You're doing very well at this.
Thank you. No, it's interesting. I just watched this interview. Sam Altman gave an interview about a week and a half ago, something like that. And I was watching this interview with the purpose of learning. What does he think the workforce looks like? Because that's what interests me. I care about people first and foremost. And the premise of this interview was that, and I'll give you a link. If I'll find it, I'll give you a link. Was that the interviewer was taking him onto a journey into the future, and she was like, "Oh, you are now 10 years ahead. You're now 20 years ahead. It is 2050, it's like whatever." And they went through various ideas of where technology is going, and they finally landed on what's happening with our engineers, our developers, our businesses, analysts, PMs, whatever. People who we believe can be replaced by an AI agent. Unfortunately, I think that Sam completely missed the point, because I guess living in Silicon Valley and having all of these options and being surrounded by the most brilliant minds in the world, for you everything's an opportunity, right? So he went on to say, well, I think that if I regret not being a 22-year-old right now, because I think I could probably do a startup that will be valued $1 billion in like 6 months, stuff like that. Like the opportunity is so much greater with all of this technology. And of course I agree with him. Yes, that's totally possible, but that's like one young person. What do we do about the rest of them? What do we do with the generation that's just finishing school right now, this year, next year, whatever, and they're wanting to go into a junior position? And I feel like there have been ups and downs. Like, for example, when I started, I feel it was harder than what it was like 5 years ago. So when I started, I did have to do an unpaid internship for like a year, and then I had to work for very little money, and then I had to like really do a lot of the things on my own. And about 3-4 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, whenever I would talk to somebody and I would suggest that maybe they should learn some stuff in the evenings or over the weekends, everybody was absolutely completely outraged, thinking that the organization should give them the time, the money, the exams, the everything, right, for them to be able to evolve in the career and, granted, work better for the organization. So now I feel like we're back to how it was when I started. I find that those highly paid internships where you would just be there to learn have kind of gone away now, or they're there at a much lower number. But at the same time, I feel like you cannot get an unpaid internship anymore, because the humans need to look after the AI. They don't have time to teach you, because they themselves, they're learning. And like the amount of skills that you do need to be able to interact with these engines well enough, and to be able to imagine wait, maybe there's a tool. I'm stuck right now. Maybe there's a tool that could unblock me. Um, it's just
It, it,
there's just so many possibilities that I feel we could get stuck in decision hell almost.
Oh, that's yeah, no, that's an absolute. I mean, I feel that already. Even just in the small realms of the bar platform, the way it's grown over the years, there are so many different ways to solve the same problem that you can quite easily get stuck in. Well, which one do I choose? Which one's the right one? How do I know? And that's where my experience certainly comes in because I've done lots of different ways. I was there when all you could do was workflow. Or plugins. Those were your options. You didn't really have anything else. And then you get Azure on top of that, and then you get Power Automate and JavaScript kind of along the way as well. But it was because I've seen that evolution and I've experienced it. I know now if someone asks me, well, I needed to do this automation. I know the things I need to ask. I need to ask, does it have to be in real time? Does it the user need to see it when they do something?
What's the
Is
memory allocation? How much will it cost? Et cetera,
Yep.
et cetera. So yeah, so that's what I think is going to happen. I think we will end up investing in juniors right now to have principals in 10 years, seniors and principals in 10 years, because otherwise, you're going to be like one of those people who knows Cobalt right now, and they pick up the phone and they charge like $1 million or like however you know the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kind I'm talking about, right?
One of my
They
neighbors in the
just
past
chill
was.
on. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but that that knowledge and experience is and will be so valuable where you get there and look at the AI that is implementing the driverless car and wait, I need to check for XYZ. I need to make sure that the tolerance for this car speeding up is only this much percentage so that I minimize risk. And I know that my tolerance for it going a certain direction is only like 20%. And I know that, for example, I don't care that the AI was crash this car in a very narrow parking space. I wanted to calculate, how many loops did we do already? And it didn't park the car, and all sorts of stuff like that. Obviously, I'm making stuff up. I'm just imagining what can go wrong with the driverless car, what, so I can imagine that it will calculate and it will try to park in a perfect spot, which is virtually not existent in big cities. So I'm just curious what's going to happen, and I'm curious how us, the people who have been so fortunate to be surrounded by a community, to have a good job, to have interesting problems to solve, are going to chip in to creating this better world, or at least not much worse than it is already.
I mean, I think that people will always find ways to do something meaningful, and that will then bring value to other people. I mean, it might just be that we get to the point that actually a lot of the general grunt work of stuff that happens that at the moment there's lots of people manually having to do. Maybe that all goes away with lovely robots and AI, and we're freed up to do other things like more plays and movies that other people will buy because they're interested in that sort of stuff. So maybe we move more to an artistic sort of society. Who knows? I think that jobs will always change. Everything will always change. There is a risk, and it's funny you were talking about the juniors and people coming in and how do they take that step from starting to becoming us essentially. Someone else was talking about it on a podcast, and I hadn't thought of it, but it's true. If AI is, as some people are saying, going to take all of those entry level jobs, then how do you start? Where do you provide your
Hmm.
value and get paid, and what does that look like in the future?
How do you know? I was talking to a colleague of mine, and I know I just asked a question, and the first and the answer was, did you check with Copilot? And I'm like, I don't want to check with Copilot. I want to ask you because I want to learn. Copilot will indeed give me the answer, and I'll probably just like copy paste it, but I know that I need to understand the reasoning. You just said that your method of learning is by doing always. Other people read, other people play it in their head. I just saw over the past few weeks, we're in the US right now, and my husband's uncle has had a very, very influential job over the past, I don't know, decades, right? So he spends a lot of time thinking and trying to lead uh, his organization. And I noticed that he has many printed sheets of paper, and he highlights stuff with just like a yellow marker, right? And he goes over it over and over again, and then he does this work. So this is how he learns. In my case, I learned by talking to interviewing people, like you said, and actually learning what goes through their head, trying to understand that perspective. So I still want to have that person that I am able to ask a question instead of going straight to Copilot, so that I learn, I understand what's going on.
See, that's interesting, because that mode, isn't that where AI can help you? Because you can have a conversation with them. You could actually say, I mean, the difference is they're not thinking. Like, this is the thing that people forget, I think, is that
You can have a conversation with AI if you, sorry, I interrupted you there, if you are an extrovert. I feel like AI is not as beneficial for introverts. And maybe I'm not right. I'm curious to get other guests and ask them on your show and ask them, what do you think? Because maybe some people would think, oh, actually, I am very grateful that I don't have to talk to humans anymore, and I can still find my answers and like do my job and learn things. But for me, if you are not that good at networking and being out there and being vulnerable with other people, which you learn by being, I guess, then you don't know what to ask it. I was in this talk at Dynamics Minds, actually, and the theme of the talk was small talk sucks.
small talk does
So,
suck.
so Meg Smith, who's an absolute genius, was presenting this AI session where she was saying, small talk sucks. You need to know how to make conversation. You need to know how to, and you need to talk to the AI exactly like you talk to a human. To me, I don't have that patience to investigate enough so that I can get the right answer. Maybe I don't even have enough critical thinking on a subject that I do not know to make sure the answer that I get is actually factually correct and it will help me in my case. The AI doesn't have the experience that my colleague has.
Yeah.
So I ask him because he can then tell me you should do X, Y, Z. For example, when I had this customer, this is what I did, and it really didn't work out, or like whatever. That's why I feel like it's important for us to write down all of the advantages of our colleagues' direct work. Exactly like you were saying, right? I know what to do because I have been doing automations for 15 years almost.
Mm.
So I know how wrong it can get.
Yeah. 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 I've done data migrations and know how wrong they can go. So it's, uh, I have to go back a second. So the introvert extrovert thing. So do you see
Hmm.
yourself as an introvert then? And how does that play with going to events and conferences? And because you mingle and you interact within these areas. So how do you find that that experience as an introvert then?
I mingle a lot less than other people. I am very rarely on like a group chat. I engage a lot less.
Hmm.
I normally listen to what other people have to say. Very rarely do I say something, and if I do, it's often wrong. Or because either that subject has been covered already, or somebody has a better insight, or like whatever it is.
I think you might be a little
Um,
self-critical as well.
uh, but overall, I am completely exhausted. Like I'm exhausted
Mm,
after I know a happy hour or a networking event or a round table. I am I am exhausted. That's how it manifests
yeah.
with me. I feel immediately homesick. Just want to go home.
Hmm.
I tend to um, I tend to go to the people I know
Yep.
and like already.
Mm,
Yeah, I find it hard. Personally, I find it hard. I've always found it hard. It's much easier now because my husband is not an introvert. So then he um, kind of sets the environment. So I don't have to do anything. I can just rock up to the dinner or the happy hour or the thing. And oftentimes I have a list of people who I haven't seen in a long time, and I get to catch up and stuff like that.
yeah.
But overall, it's very difficult for me.
Yeah, it's that's interesting. So my wife is an introvert as well. She thinks of herself as an introvert, and the way she described it is actually very similar to what you're talking about, which is interesting because I am the opposite. I'm not an extrovert, but I am extroverted. So the introvert extrovert thing, it's obviously it's a sliding scale, but it also alters in different
Sure.
scenarios. So there's
Yeah.
you can be introverted, but you can also be extroverted. You can, but it just requires effort. It becomes you have a certain natural leaning. So for me, I do naturally lean more to the extrovert, but I also have a lot of anxiety and social anxiety, that side of it. So for me, it's similar in some ways to what you've described, but for probably different reasons. So my wife says, as an introvert, when she wakes up in the morning, that's the most energy she'll have all day. So every
Hmm.
person she meets, all that she does just drains her of energy. Whether she enjoys it or not, it drains her of energy. And so by the end of the day, she's exhausted and she just has to go to sleep. She cannot do the evening. She can do the morning, she can't do the evening, which is difficult when she's a nurse because she's dealing with people all day long. But that's her view on introverts. So when she's out talking to people and socializing, she looks very extroverted, but it's taken lots of energy from her to do that. And for me, I wake up I do wake up with energy, but I'm very lethargic in the morning. I hate the morning. Uh, but I love meeting people. So for me, I get so energized from meeting people. When I go to a conference, I love that meeting people and interacting, talking, and just getting excited with the buzz. It's one of the reasons I was talking earlier about San Francisco and that feeling I get in San Francisco. I just feel like there's possibility and things happening in the air, and I just imbibe that. I just drink it in. So things like this, I love doing this because it's just great to.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And I was so it's so interesting. Like at the end of an event, I am yeah, like your wife, I am so tired. Cannot wait to just go home
Hmm.
to rest, to sleep, to just to be quiet.
Yeah.
Andrew, and not only Andrew, but many people I know, at the end of the event, they have like a low.
Yeah.
They regret the fact that it's over now.
Yep.
They miss it.
Hmm.
Um, they cannot wait for for the next one immediately, but they have a very obvious low because no, it's done and their friends have gone home and
Yep.
um yeah, so
Yeah, I definitely get that.
and
That's definitely a feeling I get. So at the end of any event, especially if it's been good, I'm buzzing and I'm wishing it kept going, but at the same time, I'm also tired because these things
oh
do,
yeah,
they
totally.
take energy, and especially when you're up at like you're up late, you're talking to people, especially if you are out drinking and in noisy environments. My hearing's not the best anyway. It's not like I'm deaf or anything, but I definitely have lower than average hearing, I would say. So I struggle in a really noisy environment. It's you'll let if you ever see me out in a pub, I will try to get out of the pub and I'll talk to people there. It used to be I'd go and talk to the smokers because that was where they were. I say used to because I hate being around smoke now. But
Yeah, you're not used to it anymore.
no,
So yeah, it is it's interesting. And then all of this, the way that society has evolved, in my opinion, and now with AI too, um, it's just very interesting, and I'm so curious to see where is it going to go. But for me, honestly, it is overwhelming.
mm,
Like I find that you need to be very organized, and I find that you need to be very specific with your targets and goals, or with how you really spend your time, because um, there is so much to learn, especially for young people out there. So it can feel disheartening, I think.
mhm,
There's a lot to learn. People are different. If you do go the AI route only because you are a bit of an introvert and you'd rather just not talk to humans anymore, or like less, not anymore, but
yeah,
definitely less, then I think you do miss out on a bit of critical thinking or uh, overview that comes from human experience, expertise, that feeling. I understand that AI can gather all of the information
mhm,
and you can read it out loud, or you can have a reader on your screen that can read it out loud for you. It's still not the same thing because I look at you
yeah,
and and I can see, memories coming back. And I could see your excitement when you were talking about that book. And, all of these things that we as humans need. We absolutely
yeah,
need that social interaction, even if it makes us very, very, very tired. And then there's the whole debate on whether we should potentially go back to the office or stay at home, um, for that,
mm,
right? And um, that's another discussion to have because all of our lives have now changed, and there are studies upon studies that are trying to discern which is the right or wrong way.
that's the
So,
thing.
like, what do we do?
Yeah, no, it's. I think for me, human connection is the most important thing in life, and that has come through a few studies, and even more recently, they're starting to connect the dots between that and longevity. There was a study recently that has shown that the people that have lived the longest in the study have had strong social connections all of their life, and they value those strong social connections, and that helps your health. It actually can help your health to do that, and I definitely feel that. I need to have people around me to get that, to feel that. And I think with the AI thing, I think it's a bit of a, it's like VR. So VR in the 80s, when that first came out, and it was the red and the blue goggle thing that you put on, it was all the rage. It was on every movie, every book was made with it. It was just everywhere. And then it kind of faded out. And then it came back again, I think in the 90s, it came back for a little revisit. And then again, more recently, it came out because the technology got a little bit better. But it still didn't stay. It's not there, it hasn't stuck. And I feel like the LLM part of AI is a bit like that. I think that it's just suddenly everyone's like, this is amazing, it could do everything for me, until you start using it and realizing actually, no, it can't do everything for you. It has really good purposes and it can do some really cool stuff. But I think people are trying to use it for everything. And I think that's what the vision is
It
at the
does
moment.
do rather a lot.
It does
do rather a lot.
but it does a lot of stuff that it can also get very, very wrong. And I think there's going to be a backlash at some point, in the same way that there is with automated tills. So you know how you've got these self-serve tills that you go to Tesco and whatnot, and you can go and scan your own stuff.
Sure.
There's actually a number of retailers that are starting to take them out, that they're actually starting to minimize them, because people have said actually they don't want to use them. They would rather have a person do that work.
Who is this
But that's what
conglomerate?
that's what I was thinking. So I think it's M&S. They're taking out all their. I think it was M&S. There's someone that has said we're taking them all out. And I've noticed it myself. If I go to, I always use the self-serve. So many people don't. And it always amazes me that people don't do that. There's always still long queues at checkouts. And for me, that's weird. But other people, that's where they're going to get their connection. And so I think that LLMs are, to me, I feel like they're a little bit like that. I think that people are going to, at the moment, everyone's in this honeymoon period of, this is amazing, it does some really cool stuff. But I think that it will eventually settle down to a position where actually we're going to find out what it does and it doesn't do. Another good example of that is IVR. Interactive voice recordings. So back in the day,
I know IVR so well. I have myself been a customer representative.
Yep.
I dealt with, complaints about my bill is too high and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I was working in a call center at the time that they were trying to roll out these things for everything. And it didn't take long for them to realize actually people hated them. By the time they actually got through to someone to speak to, they would just complain bitterly and say, I've just spent 5 minutes going through so many different buttons to get to you, and I don't even know if I'm in the right place. I just want to ask this question. And so IVR, quite a lot of them was actually pulled out. Certainly where I was, what they did was they got rid of a lot of the levels of IVR, and they simply got it down to, it's used initially to filter you into a bucket of like 3 different places. And then from there, you went to a person.
Rhys, if you show me one bank that you can actually call and speak to a human person.
Yeah. That's a different problem.
I don't think they...
Yeah, that's... Oh, we lost you for a second there. No, you're back. I
don't
think
that they pulled them out. I don't think they pulled them out because when they got these IVRs, they had numbers, and therefore they let go of a percentage of their employees. So now it would be impossible to pull them out. So, but I do think they made them better, though.
They definitely they learned and changed a few things. What was something my brain's now decided to give up on me there. There was something else that was said that I wanted to go back to, but it's now entirely lost any meaning in my brain. But that brings us nicely to the close. This has been
I have one last question.
Oh.
I want you to think about.
Okay.
What do you think, or maybe you already have an opinion? Because we were talking about art earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about art um, created by AI? Do you think people are gonna buy paintings that have been painted by a GPT?
Yes. Um,
Yeah.
I definitely think they will because there's a novelty to it, and that's the whole point of art in many ways. So to me,
Mm-hmm.
I see art as a few different things. There's the business of art, and there's the creativity of art. I think that the business of art will always take advantage of something new to try and sell. That's where
Sure.
your NFTs in cryptocurrency, that's where they had their boom. I don't think they're as much of a thing these days. They had their moment. I think that AI generated art of some description is going to be something that the business of art is going to try and do, because why wouldn't you? I mean, it's if you can do that and it works, go ahead. But I think that the value that people put on art that they know is generated by AI is always going to be less.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just human. I think that's a natural human thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it's an amazing piece of art, you're always going to look at it and say,
Sure.
"Yeah, but a machine did it."
Right.
There's no real feeling behind that. There's no emotion. There's no understanding of what they're doing. They're just rehashing what they've seen a million times before. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that's the issue. But the question is whether or not we're going to know AI has done it. I don't think that everyone will say that AI has done it, and so that's going to be different. Because in that world, a lot of the stuff that it does is great. Like
It's a very good perspective.
yeah, it's not mine, unfortunately. There's a big podcast I was listening to. They were talking about art recently, and that's exactly it. But I agreed. As soon as I heard it, I was like, that makes a lot of sense because that's my dad loves to talk about modern this thing. This he heard a story. I don't know where it came from, but many people have said it. Uh, there was a guy in an art gallery walking around, and he doesn't really know art, but he's talking to someone else, and then they're talking to him, and they're like, "Oh, what do you think of this piece?" And he looks over, and there's a pedestal, and there's a slightly crushed Coke can on it, and he goes, I mean, this is just—it's a modern art wonder. They're talking, they're taking the view of capitalism and they're showing that it's trash while also putting on this is amazing. And like, oh, okay, good, good. And he walks off. And the other guy says to the other guy, I just put that there. I just finished it and crushed it and put it there.
Yeah.
The
Right.
modern art, especially, and any art really, is all about the meaning that the artist attributes to it and what you feel when you look at it. That's where the value
Sure.
comes from. So there's an artist that does like just square blocks of color, and that's literally what he does. But it's the what he's talking about, how it's got there, and that's what people buy into. So I've art's a funny
The
one.
journey.
Yeah,
Got it.
it's kind of made up in many different ways. There's the technical side as well. Like you can appreciate someone being good at art, like painting or
Yeah.
the technical part of it. But then it becomes the meaning of it. And actually, so my wife and I went to the Modern Art Gallery a few months ago. We'd never been, but we've been meaning to, and just thought it would be nice. We just took an afternoon off and went. And it was great.
Beautiful.
And we were walking around, and there was an exhibit there for an artist, and unfortunately, I don't know who it is, but they had their art from start all the way to their latest, and this is like 40 years worth of career, I think.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And at the beginning, her art was very, very skillfully painted, like really true
Mm-hmm.
representations of women and scenes and all sorts of very technically like good, what I would class as good painting. All the way to their more modern stuff is basically a lot flatter, block color. It's become more symbols and but
Sure.
that's her evolution as an artist. So she learnt the skills, the technical ability to do art and deal with paint and canvases, and then she has put her own representation later on in life. And that's the interesting thing with art. And so yeah, AI can come up with all sorts of stuff, but you're never going to value it the same. Unless it also comes up with a thing to say, and the reason I'm doing this is because I saw that particular artist did a really good, and then that.
True, but there are other things that I don't know. My daughter had an end of year school festival, and they generated a little um video lyrics and everything uh about the kids, and that was clearly AI generated, and we all loved it. We ate that thing up like we loved it so much, and that's still hard.
But
So yeah,
so that's the part where I think AI will be nice, because the thing is, to me, AI is a tool and it should always be a tool. I
yeah,
think that a human and AI is always going to be more powerful than an AI on its own. It just it just feels more natural and more correct to do it that way.
of
And
course.
so in that world, you can enhance your art by using AI. Like there's someone I saw came up with artistic renders based on kind of fractal images that the AI came up with, and basically they just fed it different parameters and different ideas, and it came up with stuff. But it was the artist feeding the ideas in that then they curated what came out of it. So
Oh, absolutely. It's like all of the medical advances too, right? Another form of art, if you ask me. You know, ideas upon ideas that people have been experimenting with, and a thought from a human that this could change the world in such and such way, and then feeding it to the AI to see if it can actually happen. But like find can be incredible.
yeah, it's definitely it can be an accelerator in that way as well, and I think that's where it is. That's where its strengths are. But we have come to a close. This has been a really interesting conversation. I feel like I need to have like a month. This is why you do that other podcast with the like all those big brains, and you just talk about stuff. This is I could see how that's come about. Uh,
Mostly just listen to them because they had probably read everything and tried everything, and I'm just there and like, huh, okay, interesting.
well, I like to finish off my my interview with some rapid fire questions. Now,
Okay,
we might not do so well on rapid fire, but I'm going to do it anyway. What is
go.
your favorite Power Platform service?
Power Automate.
Ooh, I didn't expect that. Ah, fair enough. Um, favorite conference?
Dynamics Minds.
That I did expect. Last music you can remember listening to?
Elton John. um, it was the last. It was his concert. It was an Elton John concert.
Cool.
That's what I listened to last night.
Very nice. Podcasts or TV?
TV.
Cool. And if you had 2 hours with no other responsibility, what would you do?
That's a hard one. So 2 hours with no responsibilities, and I can be anywhere,
Anywhere?
or am
Doing
I
anything?
okay? Anywhere doing anything? I'd go scuba diving.
Ooh, nice. Ooh. See, one of the reasons I like doing these is because they always bring up more questions that I want to ask, but I can't because we're at time. But that is one I'll definitely ask next time we see each other. uh, books or audiobooks?
Love books more, consume more audiobooks.
Yeah, that's, yeah, I'm probably quite similar actually. Glass half full or half empty?
Really trying for the glass half full. Really trying every day through a constant effort. By nature, glass half empty, unfortunately.
That's absolutely fine. It's an interesting one because I think that's it. It comes down to which you naturally gravitate to, but it's ultimately it's situation by situation,
Yeah.
and moment by moment, especially as a parent.
Which one do you decide?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, I have to say that this was amazing earlier. So my son, he's 6, and he he's been giving me a lot of stink face today. Like, you know that look that give you the where it's just like, ugh, everything you say is just wrong. I don't like what you're saying. Like he might not be saying that, but that's what he's doing. And like yeah, every
Exactly.
time I say something, he's just like, oh, he's like a teenager. But
My daughter even says, "Okay, like you're 3."
it's amazing. And that's, I mean, yeah. They say teenage years. If teenage years are worse, then there's some
Yeah.
horrible things coming. But this evening, so I was doing some DIY stuff earlier, and so I didn't read him a story this evening. But he came down with my wife around about the time he would normally be going to sleep, and she said, "Tell Daddy what you just said." And he came up to me and he's like, "Daddy, I feel I've been really mean to you today, and I just wanted to hug you." And it was just one of those moments where you go, "Oh wow,
I forgive you for everything you will
I
ever
have
do to
I
me
I am
forever.
raising a brilliant child that has actually internalized everything that we're saying and has actually come up with that."
Oh,
I mean, that is, oh,
sweet.
glass half full, definitely.
Definitely.
So yeah, no, it is amazing. It really is the things they come out with and what happens. But anyway, that is time. This has been a beautiful conversation. So I've enjoyed it so much, and the time has
Thank
flown by.
you.
Thank you so much for that. And I need to get you on as a guest host at some point because I think that you would be a wonderful co-host for this. We could interrogate
Great,
other people. It would
thanks.
be great.
I'd love to. My favorite thing to do.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone out there, for listening and following along.
Thank you.
And I will see everyone next week.